selecting and finding the most common complaint type. This will be our first Pandas use case. In this video, we are going to take a look at asking a business question. What is the most common complaint type? And answering the question using Pandas and exploratory data analysis. So let's head over to our notebook. Our second notebook starts off pretty much the same with all the right imports. We are going to use a new dataset here to demonstrate how to deal with larger datasets. This will be a subset of the 311 service requests data from the NYC Open data. We load it as usual by specifying the path. Since this is a comma separated file, we don't need to provide the additional inputs to the read_CSV function. And there we go, successfully loaded our data. Depending upon your Pandas version, you might see an error like D-type warning. This means that it's encountered a problem while reading our data. In this case, it almost certainly means that it has columns where some of the entries are strings and some of them are integers. For now, we are going to ignore it and hope that we don't run into a problem. But in the long run, we will need to investigate this warning. So now that we've loaded our data, what's even in it? When you print a large data frame, it'll show you the first few rows. If you don't see this, don't panic. The default behavior for large data frames changed between Pandas 0.12 and Pandas 0.13. Previously, it would show you a summary of the data frame. This includes all the columns and how many non-null values there are in each column. So if I want to look at my data frame, all I have to do is write the name of the data frame and execute. And there we go. We have a visual of our data along with all the rows and all the columns. Now notice when it comes to large data frames, it actually becomes a headache to look at the data all at once. So we'll discuss some filtering and subsetting tactics to manage our data better. To select a column, we index with the name of the column like this. And notice this will be familiar to the previous video that we have already seen on how to access a data frame similar to dictionaries. So once I pass complaint type, the name of the column that I want, to my data frame, the data is displayed along with the index. Now to get the first 5 rows of a data frame, we can use a slice of something like this. This is a great way to get a sense of what kind of information is in the data frame. Take a minute to look at the contents and get a feel for the dataset. And there we go. Instead of displaying all the rows, we have just subsetted to display just 5 rows. Now, notice that in order to even look at the subset, I have to scroll a lot because I'm displaying all my columns. So in the next step, what we are going to do is learn to put these together and filter out one column along with 5 rows of that column. And we just do this by writing the previous commands one after the other. The order does not matter, so I can choose to write my row subset and column subset interchangeably one after the other. Selecting multiple columns. What if we just want to know the complaint type and the burrow, but not the rest of the information? Pandas makes it really easy to select a subset of the columns. Just index with list of columns that you want. So in this case, we specified that we wanted the complaint type and the burrow columns of our complaints data frame. And just like that, Pandas was able to display the required subset. What about taking a look at the first 10 rows? There we go. So along with selecting multiple columns and passing them as a list, we can also put our row filters back and get a more summarized subsetted view of the data. On to the main event. What's the most common complaint type? This is going to be a really easy question to answer because Pandas has a convenience method called value_counts that we can use. So we filter out our complaints data frame by the complaint type column and just do a .value_counts, which will give us the counts grouped by the complaint types. And we can immediately see that we have our answer right there in front of us. But this is a very crude way of displaying information. So why not have a subset where we can only show the first 10 rows? And there we go, a much better version. But the superlative version of displaying this data is, of course, using a visualization. In the previous video, we already have a flavor of how to generate a plot using Pandas. So we'll just go ahead with that. Notice that this time we are specifying a kind parameter and the value of it is bar because we want a bar chart. And just like that, Pandas was able to give us the visualization that we wanted, and anyone looking at this can easily take away the fact that heating is the most problematic complaint type that we have in the NYC open data.